Coaches, your defense has gotten 7 sacks through 3 games, I believe. Is there any particular characteristic of your defense that has really driven that to have a lot of pressure on the quarterback right away in games?
We missed a couple sacks. I wish we'd have more at this point. I think there was a couple holding penalties that negated that, and we missed a guy at Texas A&M a few times. So we've come free a lot. We've applied a lot of pressure. I've got a lot of tackles for losses, which is good. And we just need to keep playing with the same energy and start collecting more sacks. But they've done a good job up to this point.
Well, and on that note, can you speak to kind of the next man up mentality? Because there's been a lot of moving parts on the D-line, and it seems like even going back to the second half of the A&M game, the pressure has been pretty constant.
Yeah. Even if I got the starters in, I'm a pressure. But it seems like we had to do a little bit more. So hopefully we get those guys back and start getting kind of in sequence again. But it's good for the young guys, you know, especially in the game last week. A lot of people got to play, which is always good. And practice isn't the same as game experience. When you get in the game and you have game experience and you do well, you have something to fall back on. So game experience is like key. And if you play well in the game, you're going to build more and more confidence.
How do you feel about where you are with pass rush without blitzing? Just your base 4. How's that coming along?
Well, I've never just rushed 4. That's what offenses want you to do. They just want you to rush 4.
Right.
The times we've been able to rush 4, I was a lot better than other people, and you was able to just sit back and help your secondary out by rushing 4. But in this game, there's so much parity, and coaches do a good job of chipping defensive ends. Like when we played against A&M, I know our offense chipped their ends a lot, and it negates. So you have to apply pressure when you're trying to rush 4 when they chip in the end. So it's kind of a little bit of a chess match, but if we could get home with 4, I'd rush 4 every time, just 4.
Your quarterback gets the ball out quick. What type of challenge does that pose for you?
He's very smart. He knows what to do with the ball, gets it out fast. We're going to have to knock down some balls, especially on early downs to get him in 3rd and long. But he's good. You know, he's a son of a former NFL great. So I had a chance to play against Kurt when we were in college. He played at Northern Iowa when I was at McNeese. Actually, his first start he ever started was against us at McNeese. And we got the better hand of the
Jaden Davis has been off to a really good start. He got here kind of late. You know, what did he do to earn that starting position? What do you think's made him has such a hot start to the year?
You could tell when he came in, he had a lot of experience just by the way he acted, the way he played, the way he communicated, and there's nothing like game experience, like I alluded to earlier. And he's just a plug and play guy. You can put him anywhere. You can play him at safety, nickel, corner. So he's earned his stripes, you know, and the players know that he has. And so going forward, he's a big leader on the defense, especially on the back end. And I think he'll play better and better.
Coach, what have you liked about your run defense through 3 games?
Right now we're ranked high, you know. I know there's a big question mark going in how we'd be able to stop the run, and but we've done a good job. I think we tackle well. That's why we've stopped the run. Even on some plays that got through, we didn't allow a hole through the middle to get a bigger run. We came in and made the tackle and got them down, and of course lost yardage plays goes against run plays. And so a lot of times when you sack a quarterback or you get TFLs, it goes against the rush. So but I think we've done well. We need to continue to stop the run and make them one-dimensional though.
How does Rueben Bain compare to some other freshmen that you've coached in the past? He's off to also a really good start. He's, I think, 8 pressures already. He's doing pretty well.
I've never coached a freshman like him in the places I've been. I've had some older guys as good as him, but a freshman to be that powerful, that mature, it's got a lot of elite skill sets. He's going to continue to be better, and I'm excited for him in his future.
How's the Corey Couch doing?
Doing awesome. He's doing really good. He's got a lot of confidence right now, playing the nickel spot. He messed around a little bit with corner in the fall camp, but he's kind of settled into where he's our nickel guy, and which he has experience at, and he's playing at a high level right now, and he needs to continue, and I'm happy with the way he's playing.
Evaluate Chase Smith game from Mac.
Chase is, of course, he doesn't have a lot of game reps. You know, Chase is, coming off that injury, so every time he gets in the game, it's a new experience, but he's fast, and he sees things, and he triggers, and he's got a bright future. The more he plays, the better he's going to get. I would bet probably on the back end of the season, he would probably be in the game in a lot more meaningful reps. But if he stays healthy, that guy's got a chance to be a really, really good one.
How did James Williams do without Cam in that game?
He did good. James, like if we're watching film and we're making checks, James is usually the guy that comes up with the answer first. Cam's always the more calm guy, and he's like the quarterback on the field. So out on the field, Cam makes most of the checks. He weathers the storms a little bit better, but James did a great job of leading Harris, which was his first start, and James did awesome, which I knew he would. James is really into the game plan. He's really smart, and he did a good job of being a leader back there.
And what did you think of the freshmen who got a chance to play more against the equipment?
And some growing pains. Some of the freshmen had growing pains. I thought Harris came in and he did well. I know he's his second year in, but he came in, he's building confidence and he's playing well. Some of the freshmen were in there and they really wasn't ready to play in the game. But you got to get them experience at some time. So some of the young backers got in, and that was good to see. And of course our defensive line, a lot of young guys in there. So
It seemed like Damari got a lot of time at nickel.
he did. He should have blitzed 2 more times, and he didn't. He didn't get the check, so he might have made a couple more big hits if he'd have blitzed. But he's got a really good skill set. I could see him being a nickel, a safety. He could really play everything. He could play corner as well, but I think a nickel spot's probably his best suited for him, probably best suited for us.
Coach mentioned the energy being quite consistent early in games from your defense early on. How have you noticed that's factored into limiting yards after catches, especially when you're trying to look to force a lot of 3 and outs throughout the course of the game in particular pockets of it?
I think it's the way you practice. I always was taught, and I learned at an early age in coaching that what you allow or what you expect in practice and what you hold them accountable to will show up in the game. So if you don't practice hard and you don't run to the football, it's going to show up in the game. But what you demand will also show up in the game. And now I think that's what we're getting right now. We practice really hard. We run to the football at practice. We put in a lot of plays. So when they get in the game, really the games are a little bit easier for us having a lot of energy. And that's just the way, I've always kind of done it and learned that your practice and your training has to be harder than the actual game. Because at game time, their juices are going to be high, the adrenaline's going to be pumping, and I don't know, if you get out of them at practice, I think in the game they'll play a lot faster and a lot more physical.
Is there anyone in particular on the defense, maybe James or Canyon, someone else who has stood out to you as someone who can orchestrate that consistently at practice when no one's watching?
No, I think the coaches do it. The coaches demand it because it gets hot out there, right? So the coaches have to do a good job of demanding it. But the same leaders as always, Cam, Kiko, Mesidor when he was healthy, of course. Those guys demand their position groups to practice a certain way, and we as coaches hold them accountable. And so it's a lot of yelling out there. It's a lot of energy. And on game night, it's a lot easier.
Is Josh Horton getting any closer to being able to help you in meaningful moments as the season goes on?
He's a work in progress. He's just a freshman. If he had been here in the spring, he'd probably be further advanced. Most of the time, freshmen that come in are able to play early at any position. They come in a semester early. And so the defense is not like, it's the second time going through it, almost a third time. So if you go through the spring, you go through the summer, then you go through fall camp. So it's really your third time going through it. But when you're a freshman and you come over the summer, it's a lot to take in. So there's the playbook, and then there's a lot of different things he has to learn about being a defensive lineman, and then what he sees across from him. So it's a little much right now, but it's typical freshman, So he's getting better as we go, and we might need him down the stretch even more. So as time tells, and then sometimes I have to make my calls accordingly to who's in the football game.
What can you say about Jared Harrison Hunt up until this point?
Thank God we got him right now. He's a good pass rusher. He's very twitchy. He's practicing harder, which is good. He's getting more reps, and I think this next game and going forward, he's going to start playing better and better and better. You can tell that he's a lot healthier than he was. So I'm excited about him.
Have you noticed Brinson Dean's leadership carrying over after he came in from Purdue? I know it's only been 3 games, but as you're looking for that rest of front 7, you have the freshman you mentioned with Horton. What do you feel like stands out to you about Dean's leadership?
It's the way he works. He doesn't say a lot. We don't have a lot of talkers on defense. We have a lot of coaches that do a lot of talking, but we don't have a lot of guys that are like outspoken. But he's one of the bell cows for sure. He's a guy that gives a lot of great effort. He's kind of the leader of that defensive line room, him and Mesidor. And just excited that he's here, and he's going to probably have a great season.
Which coaches do the most talking?
Starts with me, but Nicholson. He's loud, man. He's loud. Coach Adai, it just depends. Coach Adai, you'll hear him when things aren't going well, but he's getting better at celebrating too. And then JT, Coach Taylor, he's up and down, and then the big man, Big Joe. So everybody has energy, but D-Nick is so loud. He's the only one that I hear over everybody.
Are you seeing much separation at all between KJ and Wesley at this point?
Not really. Certain ones do certain things well. Wesley's making bigger plays. He's flashing more. KJ's probably grading out a little bit higher, more consistent on the average play. So we're going to need those guys. Flag played well last game, which is really good. And K4 was a little dinged up with an ankle, but he's starting to get healthier. So we need all those guys, and they're kind of all in the same pod right now, which is good, So.
A few more.
Off week after this game, can that be tough for a coach? For the guys, how do you keep them engaged and stuff when they don't game?
Well, in the past, on the open dates, what I like to do is, of course, you get ready for the next opponent going forward. And you also take everything that's happened to you, you make a cut-up film, and you go back and you work those plays again, those defenses. So you make your corrections. We do it every week, but then you take a collection of all the games you've played, and you make one big cut-up, and you draw up those cards, and you go back and revisit it. Because people, that's what they see. What they see on film is what they're going to try and hit you with. So you always got to manipulate what you do. Even if you made a mistake and you wasn't right, your players didn't do the right thing, you still have to show them that at practice, because that play is going to show back up. And it might be a different player in the game, So you always try to do that. So you do a good job of looking at yourself and what calls you made, and then also the mistakes that you've made in the game, and you do those corrections, and that's really important in the open week.
What does Jake Lichtenstein bring to the line this year? He's an older guy, but he's only gotten so many reps so far.
Yeah.
What does he bring?
He's dependable. He's a big, strong guy. He's a little bit limited on reps right now, but he's getting healthier, which is good. And he's a guy that never messes up. Like, he's going to be where he's supposed to be. Because of his injuries and of the past, he's not able maybe sometimes to make a play that you want him to make or do a little bit extra, but he's always where he's supposed to be. But now he's starting to trigger a little bit more, like him going to get on that fumble the other night. So I'm excited for him. I think down the stretch, he'll play better as it goes too, because he'll feel better.
How much are you intent on getting? Obviously, you want more turnovers to get more takeaways, like you're talking about Jake and stuff. How much does that get?
Turnovers is a funny thing, So, you can work turnover circuits and all that, but they usually come in groups. You'll get a pick, and then boom, 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 you start rolling, you get fumbles. You can just always, you always practice with takeaways at practice, stripping the ball out and all that. Most of ours is on the fumbles is putting our hat on the football. Kiko's the other night, 22, so really wasn't a strip. It was what we call biting the ball. They put their hat on the ball. And interceptions a lot of times comes from pass rush, not necessarily beating the receiver to a route, but the pass rush causes it. So I don't know how to, if I could answer that and really be able to sell that, I could make a lot of money, because everybody wants that. Some years we've had a lot of turnovers, and others been slight, and you just don't know. You just got to take them when they come. And that's all you can do.